So, as if we needed any more concrete confirmation that The Marvels is a box office failure, it's just gotten so much worse for this film financially. Even putting aside any negative feelings or overly sensational claims, which social media can be awash with, objectively now, we can now see without any doubt the film is not just a commercial disappointment, it's a catastrophic one. And there's no exaggeration there. After an extremely poor and record-setting first weekend low at the US box office of just over $46 million, The Marvels has utterly collapsed to another new record low, both domestically and internationally. Keeping in mind, as we move forward with this video, The Marvels had a budget well in excess of $200 million. Now, Bounding Into Comics had this article: The Marvels sets another record, posts worst second weekend box office drop-off in comic book movie history. So to clarify, this is not just the worst second weekend performance of an MCU film, this is the worst decline of any comic book-based movie, which means that The Marvels is breaking all the wrong kinds of records. It has become the perfect storm of box office failures. The article states, per information provided by box office data aggregator The Numbers, The Marvels only managed to pull in $10,200,000 domestically during its second weekend in theaters, a drop of 78%, which compared against its $46.1 million pull a week prior. As noted above, this figure represents the worst such audience drop-off suffered by any MCU or comic book film, beating out both the respective 69.9% and 74% faced by previous record holders, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania and Morbius. And the international box office shows a similar decline for Weekend 2. The article says, according to a review of early numbers provided by fellow box office data aggregator BoxOfficeReport.com, The Marvels pulled in a lowly $19.5 million among non-US audiences in its second weekend. So there you have it. The Marvels is likely going to be unable to recoup its production and marketing budgets at the box office. Now, The Critical Drinker recently did a video on the film Batgirl, which was scrapped after the film had been shot. If only Disney Marvel had have had the same foresight to pull The Marvels before its release. Because it's clearly not doing the MCU any favours. All the excuses in the world can be doled out to try to explain this film's failure, but it's irrelevant, and it seems that, aside from a few diehards, next to no one is buying into it. Sometimes it can be easy for those of us in social media commentary circles to be too invested in the minutiae of such topics. I think what matters most of all is the opinion of the average movie-going Joe and Jane who don't look into these kinds of films all that closely, certainly not as closely as you or I would, dear viewer. They're not interested in the inclusion of messaging or identity politics in films. They don't look that far into it. They just see some underwhelming trailers. They see superheroes they don't recognize, and also they don't see anything unique or worth paying to see that they haven't already seen before. And I think maybe a lot of audience members have tired of MCU movies, and the once near bulletproof reputation of the franchise has gone now, following several recent underwhelming films and TV shows. On TV, the likes of She-Hulk, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Loki, Secret Invasion, Hawkeye and Miss Marvel, and at the cinema, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, have only detracted from the strength of the MCU brand. Furthermore, The Marvels was aimed at primarily a female audience, and mostly the audience who did show up to see it were majority male. These are the diehard fans who go to see every Marvel movie anyway. The word of mouth about the film was evidently less than stellar following the first weekend, which resulted in the dramatic second weekend box office decline. While it's been true throughout cinema history that great movies that develop a cult following often failed at the box office, there was usually a good reason for that, and it was usually money. they didn't have the marketing budget to sufficiently promote the film. Also, they may have been released at a time of the year when there was a lot of stiff competition at the cinema. But this wasn't the case for the Marvels. The film was released at a time when there wasn't too much serious competition. And the film had a huge marketing budget, and lots of trailers were produced, as we've previously discussed. It had the big budget promotion and marketing to make sure that most of the general cinema-going public knew about this film. The only reason it could have failed was that people who would typically go to see superhero movies like this knew about it, but they chose to not go and see it. That's pretty obvious. And for those who did go to see it, they weren't thrilled about what they saw, and so they didn't speak especially highly about it afterwards, meaning that they didn't recommend the film to other people. Thus, word of mouth was probably middling to negative. Good films with this kind of advertising spend typically do not do badly at the box office, and the only reason they might underperform is because their budget was too large, and they couldn't recoup it. And this has been the first MCU movie where even the mainstream media have admitted that there's a problem. I suppose there's simply no hiding it any longer. There's no defense for these kinds of movies. The current creative and ideological direction of the franchise cannot be defended any longer. You can't blame sections of your audience for not liking your movie and then expect that if those vocal critics would just keep quiet, that everyone else would go and pay to see the film and love it. This is laughably ridiculous and the height of hubris, denial, and self-deception. So guys, thank you very much for watching. I want to conclude this video by saying I'm making additional exclusive content each month for my Subscribestar supporters. For as little as $1 per month, you can gain access to premium content from me over there. The link to the latest exclusive video about Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Angel can be found below. And stay tuned for the November exclusive coming at the end of this month. Becoming a Subscribestar supporter also lets you send me private messages, make film review requests, and monthly 1-hour Skype or Telegram chats are also available for top tier members. Thank you for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.